Are you tired of sitting down and looking at a blank piece of paper when you need to write for your IELTS essay? So if you want to know how to write an IELTS introduction like a boss, and I'm going to teach you in this class exactly how to get 7, 8, or 9 by writing simple, clear, and very, very high level introductory paragraphs. I'm also going to teach you the only 2 techniques that you're ever going to need to set your introductions ablaze and set a bomb at the beginning of your essay to catch attention and make your writing interesting and captivating. But we're going to get on with that later. I'm going to lay a foundation of exactly how to write an introduction for your IELTS essay. An introduction, a great introduction, should have 3 main criteria. It should have a hook, it should have background, and it should have a thesis statement. These are the 3 main aspects that you need to focus on writing when you're writing your introductions for your essay. As you can see in your introduction structure, you will find in your essay structure this exact outline, and the background information in an essay provides the context and sets the stage for the main topic or thesis of your essay. It helps the reader to understand the broader context, historical background, or relevant details that are essential for grasping the significance of the essay's subject matter. So we're going to add background, and we're going to use a really great technique later in the video to show you how to add that background information and use that to build your introduction paragraph. Be careful. Remember, you only have 250 words for the IELTS essay, so be careful that you're not overwriting in the introduction. We want to be clear, concise, to the point, and not overcomplicating the introduction, but we want to have these key building blocks within the introduction so that we can get a great mark. Remember that the essay part 2 is worth 2/3 of your total mark for the writing aspect of the exam, so you should put most of your focus on that, making sure you leave about 40 minutes for your writing essay. So we've already talked about linkers, and you should know exactly how to use them from the previous video, and if you don't, then go back and watch that video. Make sure you understand linkers. They're key to the structure of an essay. But we can use them in the introduction to actually lay a foundation for the background. Some ways we can use introduction linkers. I'm going to give you a variety of ideas so that you have some tools and techniques that you're going to be able to use in your essay writing, depending on the topic and depending on what your idea is. But I'm going to give you a rough overview of some introductory linkers. So we can introduce the topic in terms of, regarding, with respect to. Then we introduce the topic. We can also use the background information, historically, traditionally, over the years. This is giving us introductory background information just with using these short, to the point phrases that will help us to develop the background aspect of our introductory paragraph. We also have providing context. This is saying given that, in light of, considering. These are great ways to introduce extra context to be able to paint the bigger picture of what your argument is going to discuss. We can also provide context in phrases like given that, in light of, and considering. I'm going to show you examples on how to do exactly that in a few minutes. But first of all, we're going to talk about the key part of your introduction paragraph that is to do with grabbing attention. That is called a hook. Do you know what a hook is? A hook is this in English. It physically means a hook for catching fish. So a hook, its purpose is to be able to catch attention. We are looking to make sure that we have an interesting, engaging idea presented in the introduction so that your reader will continue to read the article or essay. When we add in the hook, it's important that it's short, sweet, and engaging. Basically, the hook offers an opening statement that grabs the reader's attention and makes them continue reading. Giving this a strong introduction without a hook is impossible. A hook is a must in a great essay. So make sure you pay attention onto these key elements of being able to catch people's attention so that they will continue reading and give you a great mark in your IELTS exam. I've broken down what makes a great key hook, and I'm going to show you some of the elements that make up a great hook right now. So we need to have a well-crafted introduction, which includes this hook, and one aspect that we need to make sure we pay attention to is the engagement. We should spark emotion. Emotions like curiosity, intrigue, even disappointment, disbelief, or even shock. Anything that creates an emotional trigger is going to be crucial for getting a good hook, so that people will want to understand your argument so they can agree or in the end disagree with your position. This helps to motivate the reader to continue reading on, and this allows you to then be able to continue allowing yourself to argue your position. If you have a boring, unengaging hook, the majority of people are not going to read your essay, and you're not going to be able to convince anyone of your well thought through opinion. So it's very important that you pay attention to being intriguing and captivating in the beginning of your essay. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Then it also creates a connection with your reader, showing them that you care enough to think about the hook. It allows them to know that, well, this essay has been thought through and it is thoughtful, and that means that continuing reading is going to be beneficial to their education and their intellectual experience reading your essay, and it will not be another one of those 100 essays that are extremely boring. The hook is also going to create a memorable moment at the beginning, and it's going to allow the reader's mind to be attracted and not forget quickly about what they have read. In fact, there's many ways to create a hook. I've given you a list of them. There's many techniques and methods. I could spend hours teaching you how to write good hooks. In fact, in my downloadable IELTS, in my IELTS roadmap to IELTS 7, 8, or 9 writing, I have actually gone into detail on these type of hooks. But for this moment, I'm only going to teach you the powerful 2 techniques that you don't need anymore for the IELTS essay. But if you want to go to university and you want to develop more techniques and writing skills, then download the free PDF and you'll be able to see the free roadmap to success in IELTS writing. You'll be able to see these in detail. So a quick overview is the anecdote, a short story that is relevant or personal experience, quotation, question, statistical fact, and description. All of these techniques are fantastic for being practiced and will also help you with your speaking. If you can actually be able to use some of these techniques in your speaking exercise, you will also develop higher level skills in communication. But we're talking about reading, and I'm going to show you the power bomb techniques. The only 2 hooks that you'll ever need to be able to write successful IELTS essays to get 7, 8, or even 9. This is some of the secret sauce that I only give away to my own students that help them not to be confused with all this information about hooks and curiosity and all these other aspects. They just learn these 2 techniques that are simple and clean, and once they understand how to build the introduction hook, they know exactly what to do when they sit down to write and with a piece of paper, and they know how to answer correctly the best way possible to engage their audience. These 2 techniques, the first technique is called the authority voice. We're going to go into these in detail, and the second is the statement of fact. These are very, very important to be able to learn how to use. Just these 2 simple techniques will transform your IELTS writing once they're mastered and be able to be put into use even under pressure in the IELTS exam. You should practice over and over and over again with the exercises below to be able to master this aspect, and then you can go into the exam confident, understanding exactly what you're going to do with a plan and with purpose, and know exactly how to present your information in the most engaging fashion. So let's get started with the first technique. It's called the authority voice. If I sit down to write my IELTS essay and I write that my grandmum says that global warming is very dangerous, is that going to be a good way to start the essay? Why not? My grandmom knows lots of things. She's great. Why is my grandma not the best person to quote in an essay? Well, the point is that your grandma might be an authority for you, but she's not an authority for the majority of people. The concept of the authority voice means that you have to use the credibility, expertise, and possible public standing of someone who's recognized as a figure or expert in a particular field to support and strengthen the writer's opinion or argument. We wouldn't mention your grandmother because she is not an expert on the topic of global warming. So to be able to enhance your persuasiveness, you have to use the eyes of the audience to find someone who's credible in the topic that you're about to discuss. Why do we use the authority voice? It gives us credibility, number one. This authority figure has trustworthiness and knowledge in their understanding and their domain. This writer will give us the credibility that will make our argument more persuasive. We will also see their expertise as a way to validate our own claims. We will use this to build trust with the audience and the reader. That means that we are going to show them that we are in the same. We understand that this topic has experts and we are acknowledging their opinion. Even if we disagree ultimately with their opinion, at least we're acknowledging and we understand that the knowledge of this domain is important. We have also the reality of the public standing impact. Being widely recognized has strong public standing. Their endorsements can carry significant weight. Readers may be more inclined to accept the writer's argument due to the association with the reputable individual. And we have an appeal to authority fallacy. Be careful when you're using this technique that you don't try to cover over poor argumentation and poor logic, which we will discuss later in this Winter Whiz Challenge. But you cannot just appeal to authority as your argument, but it does give you a primary basis for accepting an argument. So we're going to understand how to use the authority voice now. There's two ways to use the authority voice. The first way is to use groups of authorities. For example, medical experts, doctors, the medical field, physicians of a specific nation, the Chinese Physicians Association. All of these would be examples of how to use group authorities. We can also use the psychologists. Psychologists have argued, psychiatrists have argued when we're discussing the mind or the life of the soul. We also have journalists. Journalists understand, or journalists have written about, and they have presented information. And we can also have the government, the Chinese government, the American government, etc., etc. So these are examples of how we use group authorities to begin to position our introduction with credibility and authority. The other way to do it is to use individuals. Does anyone know who this man might be? The very famous Jack Ma, who created the Alibaba. So if I was writing about technology, if I was writing about the modern world, if I was writing about business, and I wanted to mention something that Jack Ma said, this might be a way to use his authority on these topics to be able to introduce my theme, to discuss my ideas further using his authority. Who's this guy? Einstein. Einstein in the realm of science holds a lot of credibility, and we might know something about what he might say. We also have, very famous in the West, Elon Musk, when to do with technology, space, exploration, many different topics. He is someone who is an expert in physics and has an understanding in these fields. So if we wanted to talk about any of these topics, we might want to use Elon Musk as our individual authority. Okay, how do we use these people or these groups to actually build statements that help us to write clear and concise introductions? Let's look at some examples. So we might write, in recent years. In recent years gives us a nice linking phrase that introduces the background, which is what we've already discussed is an essential aspect of a good introduction. And then we are going to write the group. Psychologists have been discovering. Here we have the present perfect continuous, which is already an advanced grammar, which will give us even more points in the grammar section, whilst using an authority figure. And then we introduce the idea. We could say over the last decade, psychiatrists have been arguing that, or given that psychologists have suggested that, is another way to use these type of structures. Here we have background, here we have authority and credibility, and here we have advanced grammar, and this is exactly how we might start our essays with a group example. Or, as an individual example, similar structure, but we just use, instead of the group, we use a specific person. In recent years, Elon Musk has demanded that. And then we introduce an idea that Elon Musk might have said. So remember, this is an English exam. It's not an exam that is for your specific university subject. So you can invent in the IELTS exam what they might say. But be careful that when you're at university, you don't invent facts. You should do your research. Be careful if you're at university not to invent facts. You should do your research and find exact quotes for them to be able to be used in a higher level academic situation. But for the IELTS exam, you can invent what they might think or say and make it appropriate to the topic you're about to discuss. So how do we find the right authority figure? We should go straight to the question and we should identify the field of discovery. So where is people's authority? Does Elon Musk have more authority than my grandmother in my house? No, my grandmother is the one who has the authority to decide if I get to eat pudding or not. Elon Musk does not. But in the field of technology, my grandmother has no authority, unfortunately, but Elon Musk has a lot. So we need to go to the question and identify the field. What does it mean to say a field? Are we talking about this? No, we're not talking about this. A field of knowledge is an area where someone has an expertise in a subject matter. So there are different fields in the world. Maybe you talk about science, maybe you talk about relationships, maybe you talk about mathematics, maybe you talk about literature, maybe you talk about art, maybe you talk about environment. There's many fields of knowledge in the world, and many people have different expertise and maybe understand some fields and not others. So we need to be careful to use the right authority voice or the right group authority depending on the field of knowledge that we're about to discuss in the essay, which should be identified from the question. A little quick breakdown on the basic ideas of knowledge. We have body, knowledge about the body, knowledge about the mind, knowledge about the world, and knowledge about the soul. For example, body knowledge is more practical knowledge with how-tos and be able to apply this information into real-world situations, particularly related to human beings, no? Medicine, physical health, exercise, cooking, carpentry, driving, and other skills required through practice. This is what you might want to call, or what I categorize as, body knowledge. Then we could categorize knowledge into mind knowledge. This is conceptual ideas that understand abstract concepts, theories, and ideas. If you don't understand this, don't worry, it's not so complicated. Just think about those things. You have to use your mind to understand, and you cannot point to them in the real world. For example, philosophy, psychologists, mathematical concepts, and theories about social science. So some people here are experts in the mind. Others might be experts in the world. That's more to do with scientific knowledge about the systems and the evidence that we see from observation through experimentation and analysis, the scientific method specifically. The laws of physics, the biological principles, and the mathematical theorems are examples of knowledge that we would find in the world. Finally, you might have also soul knowledge. This might be to do with cultural knowledge encompassing understanding customs and traditions and beliefs and values shared by particular groups of people. It includes knowledge about literature, art, history. Some people that might understand this might be historians, might be writers, might be journalists. but they might even be religious figures. So we can discuss soul knowledge. This is basically a breakdown of the overall fields, and we should know people inside each of these fields. And in the exercise I have given you, you can download for yourself as you click below this video, you will see a list of people in each of these fields that will help you to identify group and individual authorities in each, which is an amazing tool. So make sure you download that now and take a look at each of these places, at each of these fields, and learn some in each category. You don't need to know hundreds, you just need to know 3 or 4 in each category, and you should be able to have enough information to write about any IELTS topic with ease. Okay, finally, let's go into the examples of how I might build this sentence with my background and my hook all put together. In the field of psychology, experts have suggested that the human mind is inclined to mental health issues. So if we were going to discuss the topic of mental health, or the topic of social media, or the topic of technology, we could easily start with this statement. Why? The field of psychology is an authority? Yes. We've made a statement about what they believe. Experts have suggested that the human mind is inclined to mental health issues. We have given a statement that can be seen to be potentially debatable or controversial, which will engage the reader as they process it, which will engage the reader as they think through themselves whether they believe this statement or not. Another example, in a fast-changing world of technology, Jack Ma believes that tech progress not only changes how we do business, but also transforms global economies. This statement, again using a personal, individual authority, any kind of topic that we are discussing, economy, business, money, investing, we could easily use the individual authority of Jack Ma. With our introductory linker, in the fast-changing world of technology, is indicating this transformation. One more example. In recent years, the Chinese government has been focusing on protecting the environment by reducing pollution and promoting sustainability. Here we have our introductory background statement linker in recent years, and we have a group authority. The Chinese government has been focusing, again using more complicated grammar to just begin the essay with higher level writing and to be able to produce a statement like this. So, IELTS, if you're a lower intermediate, you can use these argued that, you can say said that, stated that, noted that, mentioned that, pointed out that, highlighted that. Some range of phrases that you can learn, choose 2 or 3 that you know how to use if you are a 3.5 to 5.5 IELTS student. And if you're more advanced, you can learn these other advanced phrases: asserted that, contended that, suggested that, claimed that, proposed that, and maintained that. All of these fantastic phrases will help you to write at a more elevated language, and you use this structure to introduce an idea that you can invent because it's IELTS writing, and you can come up with something interesting, curious, and appropriate to the topic, which will create debate. Now it's time to go to your essay number 3 and put to practice all that you've learned in this video. This has been a longer video on how to write hooks. In the next video, I'm going to teach you how to write the statement of fact, which is the other incredible power bomb technique that will allow you to be able to write, to help you to write powerful and engaging introductions. Click on your essay and download the practice that all the information has been given to you on how to write great hooks based on the information provided in this video. See you in the next lesson.